is Hazel Millisham, and this is the Light on Leeds podcast, where we spread a light all around the city of Leeds and cast it down upon people doing great things. On this week's episode, I am chatting to Dave Newell, who is the Training and Development Manager of SAS, which is Specialist Autism Services. Joining us are Daniel and Tony, two SAS members. Together they tell me a little bit about what SAS offers, how they've all coped during lockdowns, and about some of the events that they've been involved in. I really enjoyed chatting to all three of them, and I'm sure that you're going to enjoy listening. On this episode of Light on Leeds, I have people come to speak to me about SAS, which is Specialist Autism Services. So today I have Dave, Daniel and Tony coming to speak to me. I'm going to start with you first, Dave. So you're the Training and Development Manager. Can you explain to me a little bit about what SAS is and what your role is there?
Oh, right. SAS started back in 1999 as an organisation which was looking to fill the gap because there was a pronounced lack of service for autistic individuals or individuals who had a diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome, which is autism without a learning disability. And it kind of increased and spilt out from there. Originally, we started in Bradford, and then we moved across to Leeds. And it's really expanded. We work with about 300 adults now, and that may be working with people in their own homes, that may be in workshops, or that may be within the employment realm as well. My role is training and development, so it's encouraging and working with members to perhaps get more information and more of their stories out there, and also working with different agencies. So this week, we've looking at establishing contact with the Prince's Trust, who we've worked with before, what's known as restorative justice, which does sound like a straight-to-video Steven Seagal film, but it isn't. And we are also working with the new neurodiversity lead at Leeds Prison as well.
Wow, that's amazing. So it sounds like a really interested and varied role. How did you start in that role?
I actually started as a volunteer. A friend of mine from film school, who went to school with one of our directors, suggested that I might be good to run a creative writing group. And I must admit, I'd run creative writing groups and had a background in it, but I'd not worked with autistic individuals. So I started as that, and then that role sort of developed, and then a full-time post became available in employment, and I've been there ever since.
Oh, brilliant. That's fantastic. And so, Daniel, if I can speak to you for a second, how long have you been involved in SAS?
I think at this point, I've now been involved with SAS for about 4 years. I originally became aware of it when we were looking at extra support for me through the local authority, as I was having real difficulties. I've now obviously since gone through. I attend a couple of workshops a week, and I also have a couple of one-to-one support sessions. And at the moment, in one-to-one, we're trying to deal with like my social skills issues that are resulting in making staff in shops uncomfortable, and trying to help ensure that I've got the skills to be able to advocate for myself and fully disclose my autism and any of the challenges that may come with it.
And how old were you when you first got in touch with the service?
I believe it was actually my mum that first got in touch with the service, not me, through the Leeds City Council adult social care team, because that isn't a mouthful at all. But I digress. So obviously then I ended up going in, having a tour, having a meeting, getting used to building, and ended up becoming one of the cross-site members. So that means as a result, I'm at both Leeds and Bradford sites.
Okay, so you travel back and forth between the two?
Yes, that's something I do at the moment. Like I say, as part of the support, it's like trying to help me feel comfortable actually travelling back into Leeds City Centre so I can get to the Leeds site.
Yeah. Is that something that you find a little bit difficult?
Normally I don't, but when I mention about, what they help me with, trying to learn to advocate for myself, the instant that started the need for that support has actually knocked my confidence with going into Leeds City Centre, White Rose Centre, Manchester City Centre, Liverpool City Centre, basically anywhere where there's this particular chain of stores at.
Oh, and that's because of a bad experience that you had there.
Yep, in which I'd unwittingly made staff uncomfortable, but I didn't find out that I had caused, multiple staff to feel uncomfortable until the manager turned around and told me I was banned from every store.
Oh dear, I'm really sorry to hear that, Daniel. And so when you worked with the people at SAS, they're helping you to sort of gain an understanding of why that situation arose?
Yeah, trying to help me understand why that arose. Also liaising with the company trying to liaise with the company to see if they can get them to understand, what I was actually intending, rather than how they've obviously interpreted it.
Yeah, because it's really important, isn't it? Because obviously you're doing the hard work at your end, trying to understand, and work your way through some of this, untangle it all. And also, this chain of shops has a responsibility to educate the staff about people who are on the autistic spectrum and to perhaps recognise, certain traits and things like that, and not to feel uncomfortable, perhaps.
Yeah, and I actually mentioned that. In fact, that's because one of my support worker at the Bradford site even was joking to say, we'll have to get in touch with Dave and say, Dave, I've got a job for you. You'll be doing training at this store. I don't know if that'll actually end up happening.
Well,
but...
you never know. And then wouldn't it be great for you to take your experience, take something that was negative and turn it into something positive and perhaps prevent this happening to other people?
Yeah, ideally, though, I think for that one, it'd probably end up needing me to be there to help, deliver that training, so that I can really give it firsthand. And I do have concerns about that, but I'm sure if it ends up getting to a point where it is being considered, I can obviously speak with Dave and my support workers at Specialist Autism Services to try and get things properly in place for it.
Yeah, of course. And Tony, can I ask you the same question? And first of all, hello, Tony, and thank you for coming along. And how long have you been using the SAS?
Well, I've been here. I've been here a long time now. Obviously, my social worker got had a look for me. And came up with this place, and obviously, I've been here ever since.
And what is it that you get out of it? What do you enjoy?
Well, obviously, I enjoy being able to do different things.
Yeah, have you got any examples? What is something that you've really enjoyed? Can you think of one thing in particular?
Well, on a Tuesday I do sound and visual arts.
Oh wow, that sounds fantastic.
On a Tuesday, I do, and then on a Thursday I do something else.
Oh well, that's great to do different things. So, when you do sound and vision, is that like film or is it? Yeah. And what kind of films do you particularly like?
Well, I do a lot of I build a lot of the I do a lot of building the scenes.
Oh wow! So you're quite artistic.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And so you make the scenes, and then are other people filming their own videos and writing their own material? Is that what happens? Yeah. Excellent. That sounds really good. And so, Dave,
Yes.
Was it very difficult? I can imagine it must be a great place for people to get together, and from what Daniel and Tony have already said and told us the great things they get out of everything and the social aspect of meeting together and the support. That must have been a very difficult time for you all during COVID when everyone was locked down, was it?
Yeah, certainly when it kicked in kind of like the third week in March, and we were advised that even though we were providing adult social care, it was as listed as, it was deigned that we would no longer be able to deliver face-to-face activities. And as Daniel and Tony have just said about the benefits that interconnectivity can bring. So very, very rapidly and very quickly, we had to look at switching over to alternative delivery, and that would be a combination of wellbeing calls, and then obviously embracing Zoom as a connecting medium. Now, up until that point, Zoom to me was just a hit by Fat Larry's band, and other than that, it was an education for members and for staff to look at how we could use that. And I think what has been really good is that those members who are very tech savvy, such as Daniel, were able to bring an awful lot of sort of advice to advise other members on accessing it, particularly those who may be perhaps not as tech savvy. And the same had to be done with staff as well. Yeah. So we had to set that up very, very quickly. And then eventually as the lockdowns became fewer and fewer and we had more accessibility, we were able to look at migrating back to the buildings for more face-to-face.
And how did you feel during that time, Daniel? Were you, obviously, like as Dave says, you're very tech savvy. So was it nice for you to be able to help others?
I'm not entirely sure in which, in what capacity I ended up helping in. But I guess I ended up being like one of those, advising. I guess as well, I've been, helping. I think I ended up helping some of the staff pick up how to use Zoom.
So was it something that you had already been using before lockdown?
No, I hadn't, but I think because of my more technical background, especially related to my autism, and probably helped by the sheer amount of tech I have, so I do, get used to it. I think that did provide me a stronger position to be able to do it. For example, in our gaming workshop, instead of going through the faff of them, having to give me permission to host, I can just use my switcher, put the game feed on that on one input, shrink myself down to corner, and then I can just do it almost as if I was doing a live stream on a service like Twitch.
Yeah. Fantastic. So did you miss seeing people in real life during that period, or were you quite happy to sort of be communicating online?
I think I definitely missed the in-person communication and socialization, and it obviously did set me back. I know after the lockdowns had finished, it took like a year before I was comfortable actually going back into the building.
Is that because it had been such a long time, or was it because you were a little bit wary, about getting ill, really?
I think it was a mix of both. Mm-hmm. And I know in like recent events, because that caused me to essentially become agoraphobic. There are concerns at the moment about me, becoming agoraphobic again in light of things that have happened recently that I've mentioned. So it's trying to avoid making sure that progress isn't undone because it was very hard fought progress. And I think that also, also shows just the kind of the broad spectrum of support, pun not intended, that specialist autism services may need to provide to individuals.
Of course, yeah. And Tony, what about you? How did you find everything during lockdown? Did you miss seeing everybody?
Well, yeah, I did. I did at first, because when it first kicked in, it threw everything. Just threw everything out of kilter for me.
Yeah.
And obviously, with it doing that as well, I ended up I ended up turning to drink.
Oh dear, I'm sorry to hear that. So, were you very keen to get back to normal?
Well, I'd got used to it. Me not being in, but when it comes to that day, me coming back, it was a complete relief for me. But being back.
Yeah, and seeing everybody and getting involved in things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dave, was it difficult for staff and for members? Was it difficult for them to have because not everybody has a laptop or an internet connection, for example?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, particularly in Leeds, that we were really grateful for was the partnership work with 100% Digital Leeds.
Yeah.
And they were able to supply an awful lot of tech kit, whether that would be a laptop, whether that would be, an iPad as such. And we work then encouraging members to develop those skills to increase that accessibility, because for many, that was sort of like the only way you were able to stay connected. So thankfully, the partnership that worked there really worked out. Really benefited us. But yeah, it was very strange. I mean, I don't think I physically saw a member of staff for about 3 or 4 months. I think the first one I saw was James from the Leeds site, because I gave him a spare radiator. That was it. He came round to my house, and it seemed so weird seeing him stood at the end of my drive.
It was a very strange time, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
I feel like I don't feel like any of. I think we're all kind of in shock still. I don't feel like we've had time to realise what a huge thing that happened in all our lives. That and that none of us had any experience of, or not knowing how to deal with it really.
No, I think you're right. It was. I remember one of the younger members of staff over at Bradford, like the week leading up, and said to me, "Oh, Dave, I've never encountered anything like this. What did you do the last time?" And I said, "Well, I haven't been in the last time.
Yeah.
I've not been in a world pandemic before.
No.
I may be old, but I'm not that old to remember anything like that. It was a period of very rapid development, and then you look at what you can do with it. And I know Daniel was saying about how sort of like the gaming group developed. Daniel also was very, very helpful as part of the chess group to encouraging the playing of four-way chess.
Four-way chess.
Four-way chess, which we'd never done before. But Daniel was really instrumental in encouraging us to have a crack at that. I've never seen anything like it. I'm still not quite sure what the rules are.
Daniel, can you explain to me a little bit about four-way chess?
I'm in the same position as Dave in that. I'm not entirely sure what the rules are. It's just chess.com, the site we were using for chess before that workshop unfortunately shut down. It did have an option, it was a game mode that they were offering. So it was something that we thought, well, we might as well try it and see how it pans out. It was complete and utter chaos. And I think Dave can agree with me on that one. But
yeah, I think so.
It's an interesting experience nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely, because I think in many ways there was lots of people weren't there trying new things. So there was a lot of people baking and getting into craft. Was there anything, Tony, that you discovered, like a new interest during that time?
Well, obviously, I wasn't. I obviously I wasn't involved in things like that.
Oh, okay, but was there anything else that you sort of came across that you'd perhaps not really got into before, but because of this time when we're all inside and perhaps looking for new ways to entertain ourselves?
Well, obviously, there's some of the stuff I'd already done anyway.
Oh, okay.
Through college.
Right. And what kind of things were those?
I was doing a lot of well, obviously, I can't remember off by hand, but because obviously it's been a while since.
It has. But you had to go at a few different things. You just can't think of them all now. Oh, that's great. And
one of the things, and Tony's being a little bit modest here. Tony is always really good at being a front-facing member of one of our organisations. So when we have been at events or we've been at shows and we've been running like a stall, Tony's always been one of the first people to volunteer to operate and help run that stall. And that's one of the things I think you missed, Tony, about doing that. But earlier in the year, you were able to get back at it because you delivered a speech at the Leeds Autism Day, didn't you?
Yes.
Oh, wow, amazing. That's really brave. I think I would worry about speaking in front of lots of people. That's really great, Tony. And what is Leeds Autism Day? What was that about?
They used to hold it near to World Autism Awareness Day, which is the 2nd of April each year. But because of attempting to find a correct venue, and I suppose all of us emerging from our post-COVID world this year, the driving force behind it, Danielle at Leeds Autism Services, managed to secure the deal, and we were at KPMG, weren't we?
Yes.
Yeah, we're at KPMG down by the Leeds train station, and they were able to use their kind of like their big conference suite, I guess. And the idea is it's people come along sharing their experiences, sharing their stories. We have other guest speakers as well, and a lot of information stalls. So one of the big driving forces there this year was the development of the new Leeds General Infirmary.
Oh, of course.
The LGI, because one of the things that they're taking into consideration at the design stage is ensuring that the needs of neurodiverse individuals are taken into consideration.
Oh, fantastic. And how does that sort of manifest itself?
It's looking at, and sometimes it can be really simple things, looking at the way rooms are lit. You know, are there diffusers available? Are there ways that the light within that room can be dimmed? So for an individual who may be going for an examination, if in a small examination room, if that lighting can be dimmed down and perhaps any background noise got rid of, that process is going to be an awful lot more beneficial for them.
Yeah, definitely. Fantastic. Do you feel, can I ask you first, Daniel, do you feel that there is a greater understanding of neurodiversity because of, things that you see on TV and the way things are talked about more openly now?
I feel like I'm not in a position to be able to answer that, unfortunately, because, like I said, because of things that I'm recent, I feel like that would cause a bias that would make me unable to give an objective answer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what about you, Tony? How do you feel about that?
Well, obviously, I don't know.
What are your thoughts on it, Dave?
I think, having been with the organisation for a while, nearly 18 years on and off, and I think there has been a significant a significant change. There's been more progress. So back in 2009, for example, the Autism Act came into being, which was the first disability-specific parliamentary act. And that was like a big turning point. And so I think as both understanding of it increase and awareness increase, maybe we're moving on to the next level, which a lot of our members sometimes say should be acceptance.
Yeah, of course,
You go through awareness, you go through understanding, and then you move on to the acceptance side. So I think, there's still lots of work to be done, but it's interesting that there seems to be more and more consideration for it now.
Yeah, absolutely. And over your 18 years, Dave, has it been really interesting for you to see the kind of activities that I imagine members come to you asking to take part in?
Yeah, I mean, when we we first, I think one of the big driving forces was the introduction of World Autism Awareness Day, because then people had a sense of ownership of something, and I think it was a boost for confidence. So Tony, when you've been at events, or we've been at fundraising events, it's a lot easier, isn't it? Because people have a greater understanding now.
Yeah. I know. I get involved in this because obviously with coming to this service, it has been a good thing for me over the past few years, and I'm always glad to be a help with doing events.
Yeah, that's fantastic, isn't it? And it's great for everybody. Likes to feel like they're doing a good job, don't they? And then it really helps with your self-confidence.
Yeah. Well, obviously, when we've got these events on, I normally make my own way to them.
Oh, that's great. And do you sometimes have to travel quite far?
Well, a lot of them are in the Leeds area.
Oh, that's good. And so you must be quite an expert at getting yourself around then.
Yeah.
Veteran traveller. So earlier in the year we had the Leeds Waterfront Neurodiversity Festival, which was down outside the Royal Armouries, which was great. And then the next day after that, we were also running a stall at the West Yorkshire Emergency Services Fun Day.
Oh wow!
So there's always something going on, and what I think is really positive is the fact that we're invited along, and to feel part of that process and associated with those services.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And Daniel, can I ask you, are there any events coming up, or groups or anything coming up that you're really looking forward to?
I'm not actually registered for any. So,
do you have any ideas of anything you'd like to do in the future?
I can't really think of anything offhand, no.
And how about you, Tony?
Well, obviously, I get to know about the events through Dave Newell.
That's me.
So obviously, he tells me, and then obviously, once I get more information off him, then I make a decision whether then I'm free that day.
Yeah, of course. Dave, is there anything coming up that you're particularly looking forward to?
Yes. At the beginning of November, the weekend of, I think it's the 12th and the 13th. It is, 12th and 13th of November, which is an event called Thought Bubble, which is the UK's biggest arts comic festival. And we've been working with them now probably about 7 years. and Martha, who runs it, and Nabil, who runs it, are always very, very generous to us, allowing us to run a stall so that members' artwork and perhaps comic artwork can get seen by a wider public. And also we usually contribute with a design of kind of what's known as Bub's Lounge, which is like a breakout relaxation space.
Okay.
And it's really interesting, going back to what Daniel said before about, potentially working with the store that he mentioned, because the work with Thought Bubble, that's how that came around.
Excellent.
A staff member at a comic book shop felt that there was some of their customers that they weren't able to perhaps provide the right level of customer service to, and they weren't quite sure why. And they did like a customer survey, and it turns out a lot of customers were autistic, and they wanted to know more. So, and lots of our members are, big comic book fans, really fed into that about perhaps the best way to go around working with individuals within those shop environments. But that spun on to the involvement with the Thought Bubble Festival. So it's originally it started off in Leeds, but now it's so big, it's outgrown Leeds, and it has to use the Harrogate Conference Centre.
Oh my gosh.
I know, it's huge.
It's gone big and it's gone posher.
It has gone big, it's gone up market, yes.
That's brilliant. I have 3 questions that I ask all of my guests. I'll ask you one at a time and then ask each of you to answer. So if I could start with you, Daniel, the first question I ask is, what do you think is great about the city of Leeds?
Okay, I think with this one, I'm going to have to say, in terms of for the most part, at least, the diversity of the city. So, some, like I say, there are some exceptions because there always are, but generally speaking, the city seems to be quite pro equality for disability, and being an accepting place for LGBT plus communities, rather, because I can never remember the entire acronym. So I feel like LGBT plus is enough to remember, while still encompassing everyone on that spectrum. So
definitely.
I hope that doesn't offend anyone.
I'm sure it won't.
And
that's a great answer, is that, Daniel?
Yeah, and as well as the variety of shops, like we get a lot of things. In fact, in my part of Leeds, there's actually been a new fancy dress shop that's recently opened up.
Oh,
which is literally within walking distance. It's about, I want to say, about 15-minute walk. But it is walking distance.
Have you got your eye on a costume already?
I am. Yeah, there's a costume that's there that actually lights up that I am interested in, but they just need to see if they've got it in my size.
Oh, that would be fantastic. And will you be wearing that on Halloween, do you think?
Probably not on Halloween, but I will be I do like, the fancy dress stuff, and cosplay is something I'm wanting to get into, although that's proving a bit difficult, especially with my social issues, making me scared to go to conventions, especially since there aren't really any local gaming conventions anymore. They've all been shut down. So the nearest one that I know of is all the way down in Birmingham.
Oh dear. I'm pretty sure my family are from Malton. I don't know if you know Malton. It's in between York and Scarborough. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's a comic book festival or a Comic-Con kind of thing. I'm sure there's something that happens in Malton. I'll see if I can find out. If I find out the details, I will email you them.
The difference there is that's Comic-Con, whereas I'm more specifically into the gaming side.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's my bad knowledge.
Yeah. So Thought Bubble is a Comic-Con, right. And I have been once, and I did not enjoy myself there. It's not because of lack of it. The stuff there just didn't interest me.
Yeah. Well, everybody's different, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Tony, if you had to choose something that you think is great about the city, what would you choose?
Well, obviously, Obviously I'm not from the Leeds area.
Oh, okay.
I'm not. But yeah, obviously, obviously when I'm traveling here to Leeds, I have obviously I have sometimes I'll get the training.
Oh, okay. So, which is the city or town that you live in? Because I'm quite happy for you to tell me what you think is the great thing about that.
Well, I live between. Well, I travel over from Wakefield.
Oh, okay. So, what would you say is the greatest thing about Wakefield?
Not great.
The train to Leeds.
Not like Leeds.
Okay. Poor Wakefield. And what about you, Dave? What would you say is the greatest thing?
I think the bounce back quality of Leeds. I think it's fantastic. A lot of it is kind of like up and running again. Theatres and venues, following the pandemic. Leeds didn't get the City of Culture, but they've initiated their own project for next year, which I think is really good. They didn't get Eurovision, but I'm sure they're going to look at replacing or putting something in place for that. And even the Rhinos losing the other week, I'm sure they'll bounce back from that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. And Daniel, if you had to think of something that is not so great about Leeds, what would you choose?
Well, this is going to basically be like the flip side of the coin that I put forward with the best thing about Leeds, which is the worst thing is, I would say, is the gentrification of the city.
Right.
I like the way that we're trying to come across as this really upmarket, like the new London.
Yeah,
and as a result, pushing out working and even middle-class families out of the city into places like Bradford and Wakefield so that they can be seen as like this really high-end place for the elite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And what about you, Tony? If you can talk about Wakefield if you like. And I think you might just end up giving the same answer as previously. What would you say is not great about Wakefield?
Well, obviously, it doesn't get busy. It doesn't get busy anymore. Not like Leeds.
Oh, okay. So do you mean kind of on the high street and things like that?
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. And Dave, what about you? What would you say if you had to choose something?
Oh, right. Okay. I would have to choose, because I live in Headingley. It would have to be the Otley Run, about how that has become almost like monetarized, and it's now become not just something for students to get together and have a couple of pints. It's now become like an industry, and people are being shipped in to take part in it. And you think, oh, wait a minute, no, this was originally perhaps just something for students to do. So yeah, for anyone who wants first-hand experience of that, just pop into Headingley tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, it must be really difficult. Like you say, if you live there, it's nice and fun for other people, but it's not so great if you're a resident,
yes,
is it?
Yeah.
And Daniel, if you were asked to tell me about a hidden gem that other people would never have heard of, what would you choose?
I would say for me, it's going to be this little Japanese restaurant that's reasonably affordable, especially given the normal price of Japanese food in the UK in restaurants. And that is a place, like I say, that's a place called Fujihiro that's just off the side of the Merrion Centre.
Oh yes, I've been there.
Yeah, it's really nice. And unlike the other Japanese restaurant that's near Belgrave Music Hall and Canteen, I'd say that's another hidden gem in and of itself. But that other Japanese place is very, very expensive. And I remember going there, I want to say, probably about 10 years ago for my birthday. it was something like £155 for 3 of us.
Oh, that is pricey,
and that was 10 years ago. You can
gosh.
only imagine how much it's going to have skyrocketed since then. Like, I dread to think how expensive it is now. Whereas at Fuji Hero, it's a much more reasonable price. It's still, like I say, it's still somewhat expensive because it's Japanese food, and it seems to be in all Japanese food places, there's always that premium.
Yeah.
But it's more in line with, like, the normal prices for that kind of food.
Yeah, well, that's a great one, isn't it? And hopefully people who are listening will be able to go along and check that one out. And what about you, Tony? You can choose the hidden gem for wherever you like. You can choose Wakefield if you'd like to.
Well, obviously, I don't. Obviously, I don't go out for food much.
It doesn't have to be food. It can be a walk or a view or a shop that you like. It can really be anything.
Well, I don't go. The only time I'll go to if I go out is if I just go to the local shop.
Oh, okay. But well, that's fine. See, and I take it you like your local shop?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, well.
It's not far to go.
There we go.
Yeah, exactly. It's not far to go. That's all you need sometimes, isn't it? And what about you, Dave? Do you have a hidden gem?
Last year, I don't know whether it was open this year because I was away for it for the Heritage Weekends.
Oh,
in
yes.
September. And last year, they had in Headingley St. Luke's Lutheran Church, which is on Alma Road, which is a fascinating little building. And I didn't know it is Europe's smallest cathedral.
Oh, wow. That's a really great fact.
Who knew?
I had no idea. Yeah, the heritage open marks are fantastic, aren't they? Because in general, you get to see parts of a building that you've never seen before.
Yeah, Alex, my friend, she went to what used to be like the spa and bath in is it Roundhay?
Mm-hmm.
And she put up some fascinating photos of that building, which is obviously still there, but it's fallen into non-use, which is a shame.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it is really fantastic, and it's definitely a thing that I always tell people about, because it's very easy to go on the website and search for Leeds or wherever you live, and you'll get like a whole load of different places, and it's free, which I think is fantastic. And what will you all be doing with the rest of your day today? What about you, Daniel? What will you be getting up to today?
Not sure, to be honest. I'll probably have to contact Specialist Autism Services about something, or maybe wait until Monday for that. I'll probably end up just needing to make sure I get some food as well.
Yeah.
And I think other than that, it's just really mostly going to be gaming, I think. Because I'm not really getting out all that much, so yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's nice to have a session gaming sometimes. And what about you, Tony? What will you be doing with the rest of your day?
Well, obviously, once I get home, I'll be just chilling out, watching some TV, and seeing what's for tea.
That sounds great. And how about you, Dave? What will you be doing?
All right, okay. I've got some work to finish off on some work we're doing next week with the Prince's Trust. So I've got that. That should see me through to the end of the day.
Oh, lovely.
Or the end of the working day, anyway.
The end of the working day, yeah. Yeah, oh, great. Well, thank you all so much for coming to speak to me. It's been really great. I'll put lots of links in the podcast notes so that people can check out your website and some of the things that you've mentioned, which will be great. And yeah, it's been fantastic. So thank you all very much, and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
It was fantastic to speak to Dave, Daniel and Tony from SAS. There will be lots of links in the podcast notes as usual so that you can get involved, perhaps go along yourself and see some of the things that they get up to. The featured track on this episode is Chainsaws by fabulous Leeds band Perspex. They describe themselves as lurking somewhere between Nancy Sinatra and Dr. Feelgood. It's a brilliant track. I think you're going to really enjoy it. So have a listen, and I'll speak to you all soon.
To my apex, where I shot God in the head with a snakeskin pistol replica. I thought I'd scare you shitless instead. Now I'm through with my plastic anguish. You can reach me on the ultra phone. I'll be answering in every language, drinking custard from the stone. To pieces, I will chew the stars to spit them out, and I'll stretch the sky.